Okay, so for not another disability and inclusion chit chat, our host for the panel, we have Dom. Joining him, Jameisha. With Jameisha, we have Emily and Samantha. I'll let Dom introduce the panel just while they set up. But Dom, I'm going to hand over to you. Dom, they can hear you. Over to you.
Hello, hello. Oh, I can hear myself. So nice to see you all. Very brief intro from me. Hi, I'm Dom, Head of Strategy at Purple Goat. Purple Goat is the world's first and only disability inclusive marketing agency, which we can talk about a little bit more later.
Lovely to meet you. I work at Unilever, but the brand I'm representing today is Sure Deodorants. It's also called Rexona globally, so apologies if I flip between the name of the brand.
And then we'll go to Sam.
Hi everyone, I'm Sam Tatlow. I'm one of the creative diversity partners at ITV. Lovely to see you all.
Hi everyone, my name is Jameisha Prescod. I am a journalist, video maker on a platform called Me that I created.
As the title described, this isn't going to be another disability and inclusion chit chat. So we're going to start by asking you to all close your eyes, if that's okay. And I'd like you to think of a disability inclusive image. Okay, everyone's done that? I'm just going to ask, was that image someone in a wheelchair? Even though only 8% of the population of disabled people are wheelchair users. Was that person on their own? Possibly they were, but disabled people are social creatures. And was that disabled person like having a good time, or were they sad? But not every disabled person is sad. I want you to close your eyes again. I want you to think of an image of disability where there's a disabled person kind of achieving. Someone achieving greatness in disability. Okay, was that an image of Paralympic success? Yeah, because that's all we see around disability and success. Everyone wants to be a Paralympian. And then thirdly, can you close your eyes again and just think about an image of non-visible disability and representing that? I'm guessing maybe that's a little bit harder because actually we don't see much of it in our press whatsoever. So ultimately that's why we're here today, to create more authentic and representative comms. And I pass to my esteemed panel to kind of talk briefly about what they're doing in the space to kind of combat that and create inclusive comms. Over to you.
Thank you, Don. So, guys, as I already mentioned, I work at Unilever, and Unilever is trying to sort of be at the forefront of inclusivity and diversity within advertisement. We have our own initiative called Unstereotype, which you may have heard of through the marketing forums. What we're trying to do very much as Unilever is ensure that across our whole portfolio of brands that we truly do represent every different community around the world. It's not possible to do that on an individual brand, but it's really important to think about that portfolio. And then as an individual brand, it's really important to think about who is likely to be the communities that are most likely to buy into you. So from a Sure point of view, we're the largest deodorant brand in the world by over double the size of the next brand, which then happens to be owned by Unilever anyway. And therefore it would make no sense at all if we're not talking to the biggest community out there with people with disabilities, over 1 billion people around the world. So for us, it's so important to ensure that when we're talking, we are talking to people with disabilities, but we need to ensure that we're not just ticking the box by talking with them, we just naturally bring them into the stories we're trying to tell without doing that tick box exercise. So my whole role is ensuring that the stories of people with disabilities and the story of people with intellectual disabilities are really truly represented within the heart of what we're trying to say.
Sam?
Sorry, I wasn't expecting you to come to me next. So at ITV, we have our Diversity Acceleration Plan, which really focuses on the representation of people of colour and disabled people, most underrepresented groups in television. And that's about representation on screen, off screen, and within our workforce. So the content that you see on ITV and also produced by ITV Studios, we're really ramping up the representation of the lead roles. So the actors and presenters who are disabled in our mainstream content. Because if you think about the biggest shows that you think of for ITV are our big entertainment pieces and our soaps and news. So we're really looking with our teams at how we can increase the number of disabled people and disabled people's stories that are being told. So actually, shout out, on Thursday we've got a doc with Ellie Simmons, which is telling her story of adoption, and it's brilliant. So I really recommend you watching that. We're also looking at how we can really amplify the voices of disabled people by the stories that are being told by disabled people. So looking at those senior roles who are people who are directors, writers, producers, to make sure that we're authentically telling those stories when we are telling those stories. And then embedding that within our teams across ITV. So whether that is ensuring that our ITVX, which is our new platform for viewing ITV content, is as accessible as possible, looking at how we can ensure that our ads as part of that are accessible too for our audience. So really empowering our teams. So we're also looking at language and how, when we're talking about our programs or when we're communicating within the business, are we all using a shared version of language so that we're all talking about disabled people and the community as a whole in the same way. So it's quite a broad remit, but we're tackling it in all areas to hopefully really push the agenda forward.
And then to you, Jameisha, when we think about the authenticity that runs through the DNA of what we all do, but what brands do as well, as a creator, why is that important, and why do the community care about the authenticity of what brands are doing and what agencies are doing?
I think authenticity is like the most important thing. There's like a human nature where you can tell when something is done just for show or just to make the company better, and if it's truly like inclusive. And we can kind of feel it when we watch certain things, especially when you're part of that community. And for me, like, the way to really have true inclusiveness and representation in these campaigns, especially as someone who is a creator that gets asked to be in it, is to make sure that inclusion is present for all stages of the campaign that you're running, including the planning stage, the consulting, the production, and making sure that things are accessible amongst all of those stages as well. Otherwise, you just have someone that you might have just asked to be in it, and it's actually not even accessible for them, and it just feels off. So the key thing is making sure that we do all roles as disabled people, so hiring disabled cinematographers, asking questions, and not just one type of disabled as well, looking at the diversity within the disabled community, because what tends to happen sometimes is you include a disabled person and usually they are white, and that is not representative of the larger parts of the community. The way I experience disability as a black person will differ, and making sure that the stories that we're telling are also encompassing of those things as well, that I'd say is most important.
Cool, thank you. Again, trying to divert away where we can from it being just another chat around inclusion. We want to give actionable steps that people can take to be better tomorrow, to change what you're doing today, to suddenly be on the journey to a more inclusive future tomorrow. So again, going back to all of you, what one piece of advice would you give to our audience to think more inclusively and think more authentically in their work starting tomorrow?
So from a brand marketing point of view, it is to just let it go a little bit. You have to put your trust into the community you're trying to represent. At no point do I even believe that I understand what it means to have a disability, and so therefore you have to truly listen to the individuals you're trying to represent, and you need to almost let them take over a little bit. With that, you also have to be willing to accept that not everyone is going to see what you've done is right. Like, you cannot possibly encompass all the nuances within different disabilities, both physical and intellectual, within one campaign. So you might serve some people within the community, but you're going to not serve a load of other, and you have to be okay with that, and you have to almost ride the fact that you will get negative backlash and just be ready to respond to that. So not small things, ensuring you've got a massive risk assessment, ensuring you've got the right people on the ground to help carry that conversation, to understand that yes, we haven't necessarily represented everyone's voice, but we have represented some, and then being open to think about how that moves ahead. So from our point of view as Sure, we haven't yet unlocked how we can truly represent authentically people with intellectual disabilities. We do not understand how to do it correctly yet, and so therefore there's so much still for us to learn. And I think it's being willing to learn, and as I said, it's willing to let it go and let someone else lead the way.
It's that kind of fear and just owning where you are on that journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
Almost being vulnerable, as it were.
Very vulnerable.
Jameisha.
My key advice is always questions. We never know the answers we don't know the meaning of life, so it's constantly questioning, asking at every stage, constantly asking. Me, even as a disabled person, when I create content and when I've worked on stuff, I have one type of disability, there are different types, so it's asking different parts of my community, have I done this right, or what would you suggest, do you want to work with me on this? And also sometimes it's passing the mic as well. Maybe you're not the right person to tell the story, maybe you need to get in an agency like Purple Go or someone Purple Go, to come in and actually like answer those questions or help you even pose the questions to the community itself. So just constantly asking, and know that it's not about asking to seek the destination. It's going to be a consistent journey as we continue to develop like the way that we tell stories.
Yeah, and I think we're all going to possibly say a version of the same thing, which is to bring disabled people into that conversation. But because of what will lead on from that is actually you'll need to be open to do things differently, because of what that perspective, whatever perspective that those disabled people are bringing. For example, we, for our film Life After Death, which went out last week with John Bishop, we brought in lots of different disabled people, and particularly deaf people from the community, to be part of that production, but also from various different networks within ITV to advise on that programme, which led to us putting the film out on ITV main channel at 9 o'clock with burnt-in subtitles, because the film was for the deaf community. So if they are not able to access that film in an equal way to the hearing audience, then why are we making it? So that made a lot of people feel a bit uncomfortable when we did that, but actually it was the right thing to do, and it meant that it landed really well with the community that the film was about. So it's about being open to listening to people, and then being open to doing things slightly differently because of the advice and the perspective that they're bringing too, I think.
Cool, thank you. And kind of one last question to everyone, and there might be people in the audience that think, well, I'm probably not that person to drive change in the organisation, but we've got panellists here that are driving change in their organisation. So I kind of wanted to flip it a little bit and ask you all, what do you think it is about you as individuals and your path in life that has meant that you are doing what you do and you are comfortable doing what you do, and what can people learn from that?
Well, part of my degree was journalism, so I just love writing, and I love writing stories. And so for me, this sort of side of being able to tell other people's stories was always something within brand marketing I wanted to do massively. So it just became quite natural, and I work within the master brand side of the business, and so therefore to be able to help the local markets, help all the other people within my team understand how to unlock individual stories was something that was really important to me, and something I want to continue to do throughout my career. So it just became a natural process. So find something you love, and then work out how that has the ability to play its own role within driving inclusivity within your corporation.
I think for me, I think it's similar to what I said earlier. I love questions. Like, life is full of questions, so I'm always asking. Even the content I make, so I previously used to work at BBC, and I did explainers there, and I make explainer content on my own page, and the explainers are never to tell you exactly what the answer is, it's just to ask loads of questions, give you some info so you can ask more questions. And I think that it opens you up and allows you to sort of bring in the inclusion that way, and allow other people to kind of like jump off your questions and then sort of take it as well. And I think also leading by example, so in my content, subs are a must, and also image descriptions. Most people on social media do not do that, and people sometimes ask me, why the hell have you done that? And then that opens up a conversation to answer that. So just doing it, not asking for like the pat on the back, just do it. And yeah, I would say that.
It's a hard question to answer. I think I'm a very visibly disabled person. People kind of look to me for answers quite a lot of the time, but I think I actively try to create a really safe space when people are coming to me with those questions and with those queries. I actively make it very obvious that I don't always have all of the answers, and I also get it wrong sometimes. So that means you are not always going to have all the answers if you are not disabled, and you also will get it wrong sometimes, and that is both absolutely fine. So I think just being open to learn, as everybody else has said, ask questions, throw yourself in at the deep end and give it a go. And if you do get it wrong, apologise, move on, learn from it, and try again next time. I think you've got to create that safe space so that everybody feels comfortable having the conversation, and sometimes you can have a bit of a laugh with it too.
Thank you. And I think we are perfectly at time. Thank you all so much. Obviously, you can find us all on social media and that kind of thing. Purple Goat Agency if you need for us to help you with your inclusive marketing needs. And have a lovely day, and come and ask us any questions afterwards. Speak soon. Cheers.